So where I am going to kick the show off is with a woman, an adult female human being, who I had the pleasure of meeting last year and made aware not only of what she was and is still going through, but what gender ideology is doing to society and the rights of women. Sall Grover was going about her business with her women's only app, Giggle for Girls, which is a digital women's only space, safe space. Along came Roxanne Tickle, a transgender woman who wanted to be on the app. Initially got on, but then he was taken off. He then took her to court, resulting in a ruling of indirect discrimination rather than direct discrimination. Things have taken another turn. We'll find out what the owner of the app, friend of the show, Sall Grover, women's right advocate, joins me now from Australia. Sall, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
It's blimmin' good to talk to you again in a new year. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very optimistic. I feel great. I think
good.
Everything's sort of changing and going in the right direction. And
Seems
trust me,
be.
I'm not some Trump MAGA supporter or anything. I was mortified in 2016, and it's not like now I even particularly like the guy, but this is the person who's going to end gender ideology politically.
Crazy, right?
And so I welcome it.
Well, not really crazy from him. I want to get to him a little later on, Sal, because at first I just wanted to quickly set the scene again in my setup, because we've got a few issues to get through, Trump being one of them. But first up, I did want to go back firstly to our listeners, just, where we left off with you going to court last year. Now, where had that got to and what has changed in the Giggle v. Tickle case?
Okay, so we had the decision last year, so it's a federal court decision. So that's, one of the biggest, we've got the two biggest courts in Australia. You've got the federal court and then you've got the next level, which is the High Court. So the federal court ruled that by not allowing a man who claims to be a woman into a woman-only space, it was indirect discrimination, which essentially just means I should have either known that this man thinks he's a woman, or I should have cared if he told me. The judge went quite broad with his decision and declared that sex is changeable, which every human being knows that sex is not changeable. You're born male or female, and that's what you will be for the eternity of your life. So it was quite a bizarre ruling. So we're appealing it. We filed the appeal in October, I think it was. So first to the full federal court, and then if we need to go further, we will go to the High Court. But the most interesting turn of events, I think, is that Tickle himself had applied to cross appeal.
And what does that mean?
It means that he's appealing the decision he won, which is quite a unique situation to be in. He is appealing the indirect discrimination ruling. He wants it upgraded to direct discrimination, and I think this is probably one of the most relevant parts. He was awarded $10,000 in damages. He was asking for $200,000. He wants more money in damages, and he also wants aggravated damages. He also wants me to pay all of his court costs. And so, what would have been a one-day appeal hearing is will blow out to be a week-long appeal hearing because of the cross appeal. So we're essentially both appealing the decision for different reasons. He wants it to be harsher. I want it to be based in reality.
So this proves, does it not, that he wants to make a real meal of this and of you, and it's he's not now upset because I didn't make it onto the app. He wants you to pay. This has gone beyond I wanted to be on the app, the girls' app. I now want to, I want to really hurt you, and it's just, it's misogynistic. It's, it's just mind blowing. He showed his true colours. Well, he did in the beginning, but, wants more money, wants it now to be direct discrimination, and when he basically won last time.
Yeah, it definitely does feel personal. Whereas from my perspective, this is public interest litigation. I'm trying to establish reality in law and the need for women-only spaces, and that the law reflects reality that men cannot be women. I think that's really important in society, not just for me, but for literally everyone else, male and female, because not only are men, I think, entitled to have male-only spaces, but also we're all entitled to acknowledge what we see with our own eyes. And if we see a man, we should be able to say that's a man. We shouldn't be forced to think of that person as a woman, whatever that even means. So, I mean, I will, from day one, my whole intention has been to establish that women can say no to men, whatever they think about themselves. I mean, he's going to do what he wants to do. It's sort of none of my business, but I'll fight it all the way.
So when is this likely to happen? Are you heading back? Is there a hearing scheduled? Has it gone to high federal? Where are we?
So we will there's a case management hearing on the 12th of February in Sydney. And so is when basically whether the cross appeal is allowed, that will be established then. And just other sort of boring parts of the things the lawyers have to work out.
Yeah.
The full federal court, so it's 3 judges this time. And there's only certain times of the year that they hear cases. So it's likely that, it's not going to be March. So ours will probably be in August. So then just on the timeline of that, we would expect a decision probably by December. And so we'd know then whether, so basically if we win, we'd have to wait to see if the other side appealed to the High Court or if we're going to do it. And after you get a decision, you have 28 days to appeal to the High Court. And so, I mean, I've always said that I would go to the High Court if necessary, because the problem in Australia is in 2013, Julia Gillard, our first woman Prime Minister, and she spent a decade dining out on that fact, while she gave her famous misogyny speech, in the background, it was actually her government who took out the definitions of men and women in the Sex Discrimination Act and put in gender identity. And I know in New Zealand this has been a topic of whether to have gender identity in discrimination law. And I am here to tell you, I'm the canary in the coal mine, do not do it. Because once you get gender identity into law, because it is a completely subjective concept that is unfalsifiable, it really actually has no place in law, in the sense that, especially how the activists play it out, which they want it to overrule biological sex, which is what Australia is insisting is real, and which is why sort of the developments in America of late are very, very important for everybody else. So, I mean, whilst I know that some people sometimes hear the gender issue and think that it's, irrelevant or blown out of proportion or a culture war, it really isn't, because I cannot insist this enough. It is the foundation of truth in a society. And the moment that is just that a lie is being put into law, that a man can be a woman, we're just living in an upside down world. And I just think once the state can force you to believe that, they can force you to believe anything.
Yep.
And that's not something we want to have happen.
Do you know, Sal, one of the listeners has texted in saying, please ask how many of the 3 judges you need to rule in your favour. It is a 2-1. It's a majority rule. Yeah. Yeah,
majority rule. Yeah. So, I mean, I will say this. I am optimistic. I really am. Partly because, I know I'm right. I mean, and also in the last, 6 months, however long it's been since the initial ruling, obviously talked to so many different legal people and I feel like we're in a good position. So
great.
Going forward.
Even though you must be seriously, talk about how many years are we talking now on this particular case?
Well, actually, on the 20th of January was actually 3 years since I got the Australian Human Rights Commission complaint that kicked this all off. I know it's been 3 years of my life saying no to a man.
Saying no to a man. Is that the longest a woman's ever said no to a man for?
Don't they realise how stubborn we can be?
Yeah. No means no.
No, I'm like, that's it. I'm not going to change my mind.
And weren't you pregnant with your daughter when this all kind of started? And she'll be driving you to your next court case.
I know, I was 15 weeks pregnant with her when I got the AHRC complaint. And she'll turn 3 in July. And so by the time, if this goes to the High Court, she's going to be starting school. So it's the first, it's the golden years of her life that has definitely sort of been in part distracted by this, but also, there's an inspiration that comes from it as well. So it is what it is. You sort of just get on with it. But it was quite amazing that on the 20th of January was 3 years since I got the AHRC complaint. And on the 20th of January, Lesbian Action Group actually got their decision that they cannot have, they had asked the AHRC for an exemption so they could have female-only lesbian events like there's any other kind. And no, it's been decided that that would be discriminatory to trans women lesbians, which is another way of saying heterosexual men. So they're saying
Oh my God,
that
so yes.
heterosexual men have to go to lesbian events if they want to.